Oh, he's going up in the stands.
Send us over here.
Oh, attaboy, Dutch.
Doug, you impressed the hell out of me last night. Come down to the ring for a tryout.
You know you're not joining the mousecapades, right, buddy?
You're not trying out for the what?
You've been touched by the fist of God. What number you want to wear?
69! Take the number 69! It's hilarious!
Is that never taken?
My brother, he wants to offer you a contract.
You're not here to play hockey. You're here to fight.
This is one step under the big league.
No glory holes here tonight.
Hi, I'm Doug Ladd.
2 rules.
Man, stay away from my Percocets, and do you have any Percocets?
All right.
Okay, now I'm going to say this, and then we will discuss it no further. But the only sport I still occasionally watch is hockey.
Why?
Because
for the fights?
Yeah.
Because, okay, I was going to say, it's not like you can understand the game. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's high scoring or anything.
No.
It's not like the character, like the players have any charisma.
No.
Well, I got one question for you. Where in the fuck do you find these games?
Well, you can see it here in Austin. There's an Austin team called the Ice Bats. It's a minor league.
Yeah.
It's not even minor league. It's like a farm team or something like that. I mean, it's as far away from like major league as you can get and still have adults playing the game.
Because Central Texas is known for its snow.
I know. Which I was like, I'm still scratching my head. I'm like,
let's not forget the Jamaicans had a
bobsled
team that won. So
that was a good movie, though.
Yeah. I went to see an Ice Bats game, and I was like cheering with everybody else, but I was like, I have no idea what's going on.
Oh, no, me neither. But that's why they keep bringing beer down.
Okay, so you just don't give a shit.
The whole thing is like, it's one of those few things where the crowd is actually encouraged to be completely obnoxious. And it's to be thrown into the middle of that is actually kind of fun. You're beating on the plexiglass going, kill that son of a bitch! Kill who? I don't know. Whoever.
Somebody kill somebody.
Somebody kill somebody, because this is getting old watching them chase
I want to see blood on that ice.
This is like that time with the NASCAR. Nobody crashed.
Watching these grown men ice skate around.
What the hell? You guys just hold hands. Yes.
But this is part of why I think I really enjoyed as much as I did this movie Goon. Now, this is indeed a new release, but it is one of that new series. Like when we did God Bless America, we talked about this, how a lot of films, they're doing test runs on video on demand to see, presumably, how it does there and decide whether or not they even want to do a limited theatrical release. And
which I don't even understand how that works.
To what degree? And well, the thing is like, I mean, they're able to keep track of how many people are actually paying to see it.
Yeah.
And if they're getting overwhelming amount of people that start doing it, like it starts building word of mouth, then they go, well, fuck it. We'll try and put it in some theaters and see if people come out to see it.
Well, you just would imagine that word of mouth would backfire as soon as the person said, yeah, and I watched it at home.
Exactly.
Oh, really?
Oh, I can watch it at
How?
home? Oh, I can't watch it at home. I have to get out of my house and go pay $10 to see it in a theater where people texting and talking all
That's
around.
when I go, well, can I pay you $10 so I can go to your place and watch it?
Well, it's kind of a win-win situation when you think about the fact that, they're still getting $10 pop, from people watching it at home.
Yeah.
So, and I gotta say, in that context that, you can watch it, invite your friends over, we're going to watch a movie together, pay that one ticket price. Goon is a hell of a good movie to watch for that.
Oh,
This is the kind of film you do watch with your buddies, and you do crack that 12-pack. I was going to say 6, but come on.
Yeah.
It's a hockey movie. You'll end up fighting for real if there's only 6 beers.
Now that is very true. I mean, watching it, I that's the one thing I thought I was like, man, I wish I had some buddies over to watch this shit with so we can laugh at. Because it is very much a guy movie. In every sense of the word.
Yeah, it couldn't be more so. I mean, what you've got is a very adult comedy, but not in the American Pie
not
sense.
Really.
Well, sure it is. It's like a rated R type of comedy.
Okay.
Except it's doing it more from the man's man type of thing. I mean, if anyone has ever seen the classic hockey comedy Slapshot with Paul Newman, which is a hysterical hockey comedy where it's about basically a team that is losing and they're terrible, but they end up using the sort of like starting fights and everything and that sort of like making the hockey rink into a boxing match thing to get lots of fans and propel them on to success. With Paul Newman, I believe, was sort of the team captain. And it's a classic film.
It's the one and only good hockey movie, period.
Miracle.
Well, I never saw them.
I actually neither did I'm taking Carlisle's word on that one.
One day we're going to watch that movie and go like, Wow, that was kind of boring.
God damn it, Carlisle.
Cyrus, you fucked up on that one.
What? I just believed Carlisle. You're right, I fucked up.
Your first bad.
In many ways, it's hard not to compare Goon to that because it does feel like a harder edged version of Slapshot in a lot of ways.
It's a modern version of it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got here Sean William Scott, who is... a lot of his films, other than American Pie, I tend to find that I like him more often than I don't, which is, no one is more surprised than me. But here he plays like a
You
guy
got a
who's
Bulletproof Monk poster on the wall.
No, I don't. Don't tell people that.
Damn, that's a low blow.
I don't even own a copy of that movie.
I couldn't even dream that of you.
But he plays Doug Glatt, who lives in Massachusetts. His dad's played by Eugene Levy.
Those two cannot separate from each other.
I know.
I know, right? His brother's a doctor, a gay doctor, but a doctor nonetheless. He's kind of a loser, and he feels it because everyone else in his family is well-to-do, and he is a bouncer at a bar.
Right.
I mean, he's really good at being a bouncer at a bar.
Yes, because he has a cement head.
He does. And, the ability, he just knows how to fight. And he's also doesn't fly off the handle. He does what needs to be done to protect the bar, as they establish early on. His whole thing is being a team player.
Well, he's also like a little bit retarded.
Well, yeah.
I
mean,
as the movie
like,
goes on, you're wondering, okay, is he actually retarded?
It's like, and being a bouncer, he's really good at taking punches, but maybe he shouldn't have been. It's like it started to affect him.
Yeah, there's no question that he's not supposed to be smart in any sense of the word, but ultimately kind of likable because he is loyal to a fault, even to his best friend Pat, played by Jay Baruchel, who was actually one of the writers.
Yeah, him and Evan Goldberg, who usually writes with Seth Rogen. I guess they're all in that whole Judd Apatow writing league.
But in the middle of a hockey game they go to see, one of the players is in the stand, and Doug jumps up and beats the living shit out of this aggressive asshole hockey player, which is caught on camera, which turns into a big deal, and he's actually offered a job to play on a minor league team as basically an enforcer. They've got a player on there who used to be a big deal until he got his ass absolutely kicked into the hospital
and handed to him. Wrapped up and brought into a boat to the hospital.
You got to ice skate up the ass.
Seriously. By Liam Schreiber, who's like a lifer player who has just kind of never been anything but a brute his whole career.
He's pretty much playing Beast. Not Beast.
He was Wolverine's brother, Sabretooth.
Yeah, he's pretty much Sabretooth who plays hockey now.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is.
That's his character.
But yeah, because Doug is so good at fighting, he's like, okay, we just need you to protect this guy and get his confidence back. But what ends up turning out is the fans don't care about that other player. They're like, fuck that guy. We want to see this dude fight. And as an audience member, you're right there with them. Because he's got a whole strategy behind it. He knows what he's doing. He goes in there and he just, anybody fucks with any of the players on the team, he just, swoops in and just kicks the living shit out of them.
He is a force of nature on that ice rink. And, and that's kind of the endearing thing about him, because he is in some ways kind of like a dumb dog.
Right.
He's very much loyal to the team. He's not that bright, but he knows he has to do a job, even though he has to be told sometimes, like, hey, beat him up. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he's Jet Li in Unleashed.
Oh,
he's Danny the dog.
Totally is. Yeah, he has never suffered any abuse in his life, mind you. Or when he did, it was short-lived, I suspect.
Right.
But yeah, he is, though, outside of that persona, it's not like he even likes to fight. It's that he does it, as he says repeatedly, to protect his team, whatever his team might be in any given context. And he is loyal to a ridiculous extent. He's actually a very soft-spoken, kind of sweet guy when he's not busy punching somebody's face.
Right.
He falls in love with this local girl played by Alison Pill, who a lot of people might recognize from Scott Pilgrim.
Or In Treatment.
Was she in treatment?
Yeah, she had a great arc in Treatment.
Yeah, who's the girl's like, he loves her, but she already has a boyfriend, and
she's admittedly a slut.
She says it flat out. And he's like, couldn't be nicer about the whole thing. It's one of those things that they've got this balance of his character that I guess in real life would be hard to believe, but in the context of the film, you do really like the guy.
It really does work, yeah. I'll let you know from the get go. Like when I noticed that Stifler and the dad
Eugene Levy
were both in here just after watching, American
Reunion.
Who Gives a Shit. You're really kind of like, is this gonna be kind of a straight to video kind of deal that these guys, it's like, well, this is all we have left, after that. But I was really pleasantly pleasantly surprised by just how the chemistry with all these guys. Even though I will admit the writer of this movie, what is it,
Jay Baruchel.
There was some times where I was like, man, this guy needs to shut the fuck up.
Boy, you ain't kid, you ain't whistling Dixie, brother.
It's weird that he wrote it, and yet he's the one really hard to deal with aspect of this film.
He really is.
He's supposed to be obnoxious. I mean, yeah, your goal to be obnoxious, bravo, good for you. You pulled it off. Almost to the point to where if I hadn't paid to see this movie, I would have turned this shit off.
Thankfully, through like the whole second and most of the third act, he ain't even in it.
Right.
Which is its saving grace. It really is, because I was like, man, I'm digging this movie, but I don't know how much I can take of this fucking guy. This guy's about to just, he's the guy that's going to sink this goddamn ship, and he wrote the fucker, But it's like, man, next time, like, keep yourself out of your goddamn movie, if you wanted to be successful. But I did enjoy the relationships, and I did enjoy just Sean William Scott. I was like, wow, I was crazy surprised by his performance in this movie. You know, I really thought he stole the show.
He's a gentle giant in a lot of ways. That he's got this force of nature inside him you don't want to fuck with, but he doesn't actually want to hurt anybody. They just bitches keep coming.
Well, it's almost like he seemed almost emotionless about it. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to beat this person up reluctantly. It was just like something to do. Like, oh, you did the thing that I don't.
You fuck with one of my guys.
Yeah.
And that's what.
But otherwise, you feel completely safe around it. You wouldn't even be afraid to tell an insulting joke to him. Because, one, he might not get it. And if he did, if everybody was laughing, he would just kind of go,
And one of his there's a scene, one of his teammates punches him repeatedly in the face. And they're like, uh-oh. There was never a chance that he was going to attack this guy back because he's one of his teammates. And it's like those simple terms in which the world functions for this guy that defines his entire existence.
It's interesting because he's one of those guys kind of like I don't know if I want to say Rocky Balboa, but Popeye, where they're simple. They aren't intellectuals, and they have power, but they also have this code. And almost any character who has a code, you just kind of fall in love with, because you just like, you want somebody who has that.
Yeah.
Even if you don't agree with all the points of it, it's like still, like, hey, this person has a set of rules, and they always follow it, and I like that, and I want to follow what this guy does.
And, don't feel bad about bringing up Rocky Balboa. If you watch the first Rocky, it is in some ways, it's a guy who's just kind of brain dead in a way.
Yeah.
His heart is always in the right place, and he, and he does feel like, this is just all he can do. It's like he knows he's not a genius. He's not bright by any stretch of the imagination, and it's something that he's good at because he's a guy who's looking for his place on the fucking planet Earth,
Yeah.
And I thought that part of the movie was really endearing. But there's a great scene between Sean William Scott and Liev Schreiber, where they're sitting at a table, and it's like, wow, it's been a long time since the scene reminded me of Heat, where you see Al Pacino and Rob De Niro, they're pretty much cut from the same cloth, even though they're on opposing sides. And there's a great diner scene with both of them, where it's like, man, kid, you're the new me. But let me tell you what, at any point we're on that ice rink, and I have an opportunity to take you down, I will.
Yeah, I love it. It's like, I want you to know, I respect you, because I do, but I'm going to take you to pieces.
So you're the new me, eh? I don't know about that. I don't think so. Everyone else seems to. It's good. Good for you, kid.
Thank you.
So what are you doing wandering around St. John's at 3 o'clock in the morning? Aren't you guys playing us tonight?
Yeah, but not me. I got suspended a game.
Too bad. I ain't much for waiting around. You're a tough little bastard out there. You can bang.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
So I'm gonna impart some of the wisdom of my years on you.
And I could really use some of that.
Everybody loves their soldiers until they come home and stop fighting. You understand what I'm saying?
I don't know. No.
Kid, you got this thing. The stuff, the grit. You got it, like me. But like me, that's all you got. And like me, you're no good to anyone doing anything else. All I'm saying is don't go trying to be a hockey player. You get your heart ripped out.
But I am a hockey player, sir.
You're a fucking goon.
That plays hockey.
Funny, the moments of drama that are like that, they do work, and they do recall other classic moments like that. But ultimately, the thing I think that drew me most into this was just how funny the dialogue is, and how good some of the fights were. You really enjoy watching the violent sequences in this movie.
No, you're absolutely right, because it is one of those movies that, me not being much of I'm not a hockey fan, period. But watching this, it made me want to watch hockey.
Yeah.
Even though I know I'm going to get disappointed because it's not going to be filmed nowhere near as badass as this movie did. Which I definitely love to give credit to whoever was working on those scenes, whoever shot those fight scenes in the ice rink were just amazing to watch.
Yeah, they were. They made them where they were fun to watch, and that sort of like, you identify with Doug's character here, and they want you to some degree. And so, in as much as that it's kind of a silly fantasy, even though it is actually based loosely on a true story, on the autobiography of an actual player who was known as like that type of character, an assassin who just sent after someone to beat the living shit out of them and hope they broke their ankle or something. Even so, it's like, yeah, they're just fun to watch in that. But I keep coming back to how funny the dialogue was. There's so many sequences that I laughed out loud, even sitting by myself. There's two Russian players who constantly make fun of this one extremely Canadian guy. They're just killing me.
Those guys stole the show every time they were on screen. Those are the type of guys that, just like Slapshots, it's like there's aspects of the team. There's always like they have those characters of those guys that are just like they're in their own right funny. Like they could have their own movie if they wanted to. Yeah. And the two Russians in the movie just had me cracking up the whole time. I was like, man, I wish they have a spinoff on these guys because I could watch that shit all day and laugh my ass off.
It's funny you guys would bring that up because so many things you're saying, so many great things about the movie that I'm like, yeah, those guys are right. I've been agreeing with you, except the humor wasn't. I don't know. I didn't find it all that funny. I like the stuff that was touching. I like the fights. I like the interaction, especially between Sean William Scott and Alison Pill, and the stuff between him and Leif Schreiber. But so much of the humor, like with the Russian guys, I just felt like, all right, this is just Slapshot Redux. I mean, I know it's not the same jokes, but it just feels like that. Just so much of the stuff that was supposed to be funny. I never really got a good laugh. I never got more than a chuckle. But the other stuff I did like.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess, all right, so they made a Slapshot 2, by the way. I don't know if y'all even knew that.
Did they?
Yeah, no. Years later, and it's not very good.
I believe it. I haven't fucking heard of it.
The main thing was they managed to get the two guys who were the brothers, who were the enforcer characters back. I'm like, oh, that's enough. It's not enough for the record. But those Russian guys are kind of those characters in the way their sense of humor is in here. And I was glad to see it. I was like, I felt like that was a nod to Slapshot, which as well there should have been. And like I said, they weren't the same jokes. So one thing I really like, though, I like Sean William Scott's one-liners because he's so dumb that he says the most absurd things. There's a moment where Alison Pill is crying and he goes, "Did you just see Rudy?" Just out of nowhere. And I thought that was hysterical. That was like the only reason it could occur to him why someone might be crying is that they just watched Rudy. This is one connection to crying. I don't know. I did really enjoy this, and I think it's one of those movies that is probably best served with watching with a group of people, like we started off saying. Even if you don't find the comedy particularly funny, I think that the performances are strong enough and the relationships between the characters are interesting enough that I think you're going to get something out of this no matter what. For me, I liked almost everything this had to give except for Jay Baruchel's character. Like I said, is barely in it, really. Thank God. So I'm going to give it a low full price.
Oh, wow. You really did love it.
I did. I thought this was terrific.
Well, I liked it but didn't love it. And as a matter of fact, that first act where Jay Baruchel is in it a lot because he's what kicks everything off. And I wasn't liking that at all. I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to finish this. But, by the second act, once it got going, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of enjoying this. And the third act I thought was pretty good. Ultimately, it's still the kind of small movie that doesn't make me laugh enough to where if I go to theater and pay for it, I kind of be like, well, I don't know. But as a rental, I think it's awesome. For me, it's a very high rental because I think that's the best way to see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I will give you that. Jay Baruchel, he was in a lot of the first act of the movie. And for me, a lot of that stuff, everything you talk about, things that just weren't hitting with you. I thought it was mainly because of him, just because it was hard for anybody to really interact with him without him like taking it to an absurd level. Yeah. So yeah, every time he popped up on the screen, I was like, man, dude, I hope you're fucking out of this scene, out of this next scene soon, because man, you're really kind of bringing the movie down for me. But other than that, everything else about it, I thought was fantastic. But yeah, I mean, you could tell by some of the dialogue worked, some of it didn't. But I still had a really thoroughly enjoyable time with it. It is one of those things where I laugh my ass off, but, honestly, trying to think about it now, if I watched it again, I probably wouldn't laugh as hard as I did the initial first time. So, I mean, I'm going to give it a matinee. And I definitely think it's something, if you're a sports fan, you should definitely watch. Yeah. It's something you have to watch, yeah. But yeah, I was almost with you with a full price. I really was. But man, that fucking Jay dude, he really kind of fucked it up for me.
He's like the human combination of every internet troll in
yes.
a person.
Yeah, you're absolutely
he
right.
walks around going, hey, you fucking faggots, fuck you, asshole. And he walks around everywhere like doing the oral sex thing with his fingers.
Yeah,
looking
and it's
between
like,
his
dude,
fingers.
you weigh 100 pounds. You should not be in anybody's face over anything.
How are you still alive and you spend a lot of time hanging out at sports games and hockey games? I don't understand how you've survived this long.
And as much ass beating and fucking blood that spewed in this movie, I was really hoping for a scene where somebody would just pummel that fucking guy Jay into the goddamn ground.
It's almost like it all gets kicked off because that hockey player is going to kick Jay Baruchel's ass, and Sean William Scott stops him, and you go like, damn it. If he could have just not stopped him, I would have enjoyed that equally as what came afterwards.
Sean William Scott needs to come to that Donnie Darko moment where he realizes that that's what set off this horrible chain of events. Yeah. And so go back in time and just go, he's all yours, man.
You're absolutely right.
But you're giving up your fame as a hockey player. I know, dude, but you were begging for it. I'm sorry.
You have this coming.
Fuck that guy.
Hey, you want to go?
Yeah, okay.
Good luck, man.
Good luck to you too, bud.
Knock him out.